Last couple years, I pretty much thought the projector category was kind of dead. Like, why would you get one when TV's picture quality is so much better and the prices are coming down so much? But Valerion, who sponsored this video, is attempting to shatter that narrative with projectors that are not very large, like this, the VisionMaster Pro2. Look at this little brick. This thing promises to be super bright, super color accurate, super color gamut covery, and super easy to use and compact. Let's open it up and check what this thing can do. Jeez. This is a cool look. It has this kind of like radiator fin kind of look with, oh, it's dense, pretty heavy glass on the front. That is cool. Probably a fingerprint magnet, but why would you be touching it? Don't touch it. Oh my God. And then you can see on the sides, this thing definitely radiates heat out of each side. And that's a good design, making it like a heat sink, because otherwise you'd be hearing it. You don't want to hear fans on your projectors. You got your lenses in the front. You've got some sensors. That's going to help it do auto keystone and auto focus when we do the setup in a minute. Then on the top, you can see it actually has these like long range microphones because it has Google Assistant or Alexa or Apple HomeKit on board. So you can do all sorts of voice activated things with this, as well as the hard toggle for turning the mics off. Also some LED indicators there. On the bottom, we've got our 1/4
thread and a couple feet.
And this other kind of kickstand Nintendo Switch style foot, which means you don't have to hang this from the ceiling. You don't have to put it on a tripod. You could just put it on a table and adjust it with that. It's super stiff, which is what you want, because you don't want to be touching this thing too often. You just want to set it and forget it. And finally on the back, we have nothing. Just joking. Yeah, I/O, an IR sensor with a power button, Ethernet, headphone jack, 3 HDMI ports, including one that's eARC, 2 USB ports, your SPDIF, and the power barrel jack. Speaking of power, I never did actually finish the unboxing because I was like just too obsessed with looking at the actual thing, but here's a box of stuff, and here's a bag of stuff. Specifically, a manual, a thick boy manual. Holy cow. Wow, it's like full color and stuff too. It's actually pretty sick. I haven't read it myself, so I'm not gonna say it's super usable or well written, but I will say they definitely paid more attention, put more effort into this than your typical user guide. And that is it. So let's look at this. Ah yes, they give you a little chamois for all those fingerprints. The remote, which is pretty standard, you know, it's got the back button and the bottom left like normal. You've got a voice assistant button, power button, some app specific buttons, and at least this section of the remote is backlit. But down here, you gotta just memorize. And finally, you have the power brick itself, which is 180 watts. It's fairly heavy, I don't know for sure. Oh, it is GaN, yep, it's GaN, which is why it's so small for being so beefy. And then for length, it's less than 6 feet, more than 5.5 feet. Now that this is empty, we just gotta set this puppy up. We've got the projector projecting. It's all automatic and seamless. Once you leave your baggage at the door and don't try to treat it like other projectors you've seen. And by you, I mean me. We actually set it up on a tripod behind the couch and it was shooting onto the ceiling. What the heck? Turns out it really is not an ultra short throw, but a short throw projector. It kind of wants to be on this table in front of me. And you can see I don't even have any tilt adjusted at all. This screen is kind of just straight ahead of me, not very high up. And to hit that, it just needs to be flat because the image actually projects outward a little upward, like by default. And I guess that makes sense because the IR sensor is on the back of the device. So for the remote to hit it, you've got to be on this side of it, whether it's on the table in front of you or mounted to the screen there. That might be something to consider if you actually have this projector a lot farther from the screen because you're trying to project a 300-inch image, which this does support. In that case, you're still gonna have to be behind this thing if you're not using an IR extender. We got it hooked up to the PlayStation and we're gonna watch some movies, hopefully in HDR. Before we get into a film, we wanna make sure we're watching it properly. Man, they got everything under the sun on this thing. HLG, HDR10+, Dolby Vision. Like some very expensive projectors, this projector does have frame-by-frame dynamic tone mappings. Another thing that's really cool is that in the picture mode settings, they don't just say game and sports mode, they say HDR game and HDR sports mode. I really like having that label on there just to make it more clear exactly what you're getting. I am gonna choose filmmaker mode. While we're in here, worth mentioning, it has not only 24 FPS support, but also 48. So if you wanna watch Gemini Man, or for some reason The Hobbit, you can, and if you're another type of weirdo, 3D person like Linus, It has active 3D support as well. Now I am gonna launch this movie through Plex that's on the PlayStation because we're gonna be gaming a little bit later. But just wanna note, don't need a PlayStation at all, don't need a Fire TV stick or anything. Google TV does ship on this thing, which is awesome. It's a great OS. That's what's on my NVIDIA Shield. One thing I like about Google TV is obviously it supports Chromecast or casting. Sometimes I cast from my PC to my home theater, so you can do that, but you also can do AirPlay too with this thing. I wish that the volume button was backlit on this because that's what you're using most of the time. It's not, but I can live with that. You know what's funny though, onboard speakers on here. Don't use them please, but it's nice to have, you know, just in a pinch, or maybe the first day you move in, you don't have all your stuff yet, or maybe you're troubleshooting, nice to have. The picture quality, honestly, is really good. I run a QD OLED at home, so I'm a black level snob. This looks pretty dang black. They have this technology called enhanced black level, which basically just dims the lasers so that they're just not shining as brightly in the dark areas. Now, of course, it's a projector, so the darkest black can never be darker than the screen you're projecting on in the darkness of your room currently, but it does look really good, and the brightness with 3000 ISO lumens is super bright. So I'm getting like a TV-like experience here in a room that is dark, but not so dark. I think we should flip the lights on just to compare a little bit. But if you are watching in a bright room, Valerion does offer a premium ambient light rejecting screen, which claims it can block up to 85% of light from the ceiling or the sides. Okay, now this is a lighting setup that I would say is not ideal. I would actually hate to watch a movie with this kind of lighting setup, a bright light kind of right behind me pointing at the screen. It drastically affected the picture quality. This is still watchable, but it no longer looks great. That's the thing with projectors. You buy them because the screen size is huge, but you have to realize they do have to be in a room that is at least a little bit light controlled. That said, with this projector, at this brightness, at this throw distance and screen size, I would say this is at least usable, but if you want to get locked in, turn the lights off. In terms of color performance, there's some claims here that are maybe even surpassing your QD OLED. We're talking 110% coverage of the Rec 2020 color gamut, which is just huge. We haven't tested this ourselves, but from other reviewers and places on the internet, I've seen 95, 99% coverage of BT 2020, and that is plenty. My first impression is total satisfaction with the color accuracy, and the black levels are awesome too. So why don't we find out what the latency is all about and play some games. So we're gaming, and it looks awesome, and it feels really responsive. There's not a lot of input lag happening here. I'm bad at games, but it's not gonna be because of this projector. I'll say that. One thing to note though is the PlayStation is of course pumping this out at 120 FPS at 4K, and that's awesome, but with projectors, particularly this DLP technology, there is a limitation with the chipset that you're only gonna be able to get 60 FPS at 4K. However, you can play at 1080p up to 240 Hertz, which is pretty insane for a projector, and they're claiming 4 milliseconds response time if you do that. Now we're playing on PlayStation, so we don't have unlocked frame rates, so I'm not gonna experience that today, but I will say that gaming is not a reason not to buy this, that's for sure, which is kind of my default ickiness around projectors, so I guess my mind has changed on that. For someone at my level, there is no discernible difference between this and a TV. Overall, my first impression is that this projector lived up to the hype that was circling around the home theater community about it. The performance you're getting, the picture quality you're getting is just really good for the price. Now, what is that price? Normally $3,000 US, but right now, at the time of shooting this, $2,550. You can also check out their early bird Prime Day deal, which is 15% off, plus a free pair of 3D glasses. To get that, use the code PRO2EPDD. Don't sleep on this. It's at least worth considering if you're in the market for this kind of thing. So thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to ShortCircuit and check out some other videos that have me in them just to feed my ego.